Podcast Amsterdam.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the studio, Jennifer.
Thank you.
So we are here to talk about, here with my friend from Amsterdam, well, not from Amsterdam, in Amsterdam, but you're an Amsterdam friend, writer, expat, and small boat owner. So you're the resident expert in all things small boats. I did witness something for the first time this past couple of weeks in the centre of Amsterdam, which I've always been intrigued about. I'll ask you about it later in the show. It involves getting out of a boat in the centre. So tell us about your journey to become a boat owner.
Okay. Well, we pretty much decided as soon as we lived here that we wanted to get a boat. We rented a Mokum boat, which you can do. And you don't need a license or anything, and you can just drive around the canals. And we had such a good time, and we realized that this is definitely something we wanted to do. So we started researching the options, and we realized we didn't want a fancy boat or a big boat. And you don't need a license to drive a boat that's under... Our boat is like 7 meters, and anything that size, you can just be anybody and drive a boat. So we found a company out in Nord, a guy named Martin, who takes old boats, usually from like the Boy Scouts, that are old like metal sailing tubs that are kind of rusted and out of commission, and he refurbishes them. And we went to Martin, and he made a boat for us. The Shrimp Whisker is her name.
Great name.
Yeah, the Shrimp Whisker is named because when we first moved here, our kid was such a good sport. They were like 12 years old when we moved here, and putting on a brave face. And then we went to the beach one day and we ordered a seafood platter, and it came with shrimp with heads and whiskers. And it was my child's undoing. And it just was this moment where you're like, what have we done? And so we were like, it was the Shrimp Whisker. And the Shrimp Whisker just became a lighthearted, fun thing in our house. And we thought it would be a good name for a boat. So Shrimpy is our boat.
Oh, adorable.
Yeah.
So you spend a lot of time on your boat.
We do. We love our boat. And, well, as you know, the weather in Amsterdam is glorious. June, July, and August. The rest of the year, not so much. So it's a short season. We can sometimes take her out in the fall. And actually, we keep her out through the light show, the Amsterdam Light Show, which is like in November and December. Yeah. I don't love going out when it's super dark, because you do have to have lights on your boat, and we do have lights on our boat, but it's a small boat. So really just like once or twice a year, we'll take her out late at night. But in the summer, it's light out till 11 p.m. Yeah. So you've got a nice long day that you can be out on your boat. And we go out quite a bit, and I can take Shrimpy out by myself because she's small and easy, but usually I'm out there with my husband and my dog. Sometimes our kid, if we can coax them along.
Bribery works.
Exactly. Yeah.
Food along the way or something. Yeah.
Precisely. And we just tool around the Amsterdam canals, which are all very unique. Each canal has its own personality. It's really fun to have a boat on a dog, or a dog on a boat, rather. And anytime you have a dog on a boat, you get a lot of attention, and our dog is, I think, pretty famous on Instagram. People see him and they go crazy. It has its own challenges having a dog on a boat, especially an old dog like our old guy, because it's hard to get on and off a boat. We have our own little dock that we built, which is technically not legal in Amsterdam. The way that it works is you can find any free spot to use in Amsterdam. You can just use that spot, but it's not your spot.
Oh, I always wondered this.
Yes.
Do you have to pay moorings?
You do not have to pay moorings. What you have to pay is for a vignette, which is a little tax on the size of your boat. You pay that every year, but it's completely free unless you park it in a harbor or something like that, or yacht club. But if you just park it along the canals, you just have to make sure it doesn't say no boat parking, but otherwise.
And are there free spots?
There are, and they're all free. And so you just have to, but available spots. Yeah. Well, that's the trick.
Yeah.
Finding it, that is not easy. And there's sort of a gentleman's agreement that happens where if you see a spot and there's no sign that a boat is moored there, if they haven't built a dock, or if they don't have locks or big tires as bumpers, then it's likely a free spot and you can use it. If there are those things, you're not supposed to use it because someone else is using it.
Yeah.
And we got pretty lucky when we found our spot. My husband was skeptical. He's like, we're never going to find one. And I was like, I think we will. And we drove it right to our canal, the canal closest to our house. And we just kept going and going and going. And right at the end of the canal, there was a spot. And
oh, wow.
Yeah. And James said, you willed it to happen. I was like, I think I did. But it wasn't perfect. It was a very high seawall. And so getting on and off the boat can be a challenge. And my husband and kid both have very long legs. They're tall, and it's pretty easy for them to get on and off the boat. But I'm like a potato rolling up the wall and trying to get on and off the boat. It was very not graceful and not super safe.
This is what I witnessed in town recently. And I was sitting on the side of the quay with my friend on like Kaisersgracht or somewhere. And it's so high. And then it was two people, they must have been definitely in their 60s. And they had a maybe 30-year-old kid with them, I imagine, their child. And they came along in a similar sized boat, in a little boat. And it was clearly their mooring. And they pulled up. And I was like, how are they going to get out? Have they got a ladder in there or something? Because the guys were okay. They could sort of get a foot up to the top off the top edge of the rim of the boat, but the woman, I was like, how is she going to do it? So the husband gave her basically a knee up, like he put his knee up for her to stand on, and then she had to heave her stomach like up on the quay against the parked cars right there on the edge of the water, and then the son was able to just jump back in the boat when he wanted to get something and hop back out again. I was thinking, this is pretty undignified for a woman to get in and out of a boat. if you're below probably 5'10", you've got no chance.
This is exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So it is hard to get on and off, and so that brings up some challenges, like going to the bathroom if you're on the boat.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to find a spot and see if you can get out and go and find a bathroom. So my solution to that is I just don't drink very much.
Eat a lot of crackers.
Exactly. Salty foods. And so for the most part, people honor that you don't take your spot. But one time we did come back and somebody was in our spot. And this happens. And when it does, it's just funny. People leave passive-aggressive notes for each other.
Love it.
And it kind of goes back and forth. You just have to keep going back and checking, and you kind of moor your boat to their boat and hope that they leave. And then it usually works out.
They'll clear off.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's have a track, and then we'll come back and find out some more about boating in Amsterdam. Another great river track. Jennifer, you're all over this.
That song cracks me up. It's so funny. I love that those guys were writing that song and they were like, yeah, man, the albatross and the whale, they are my brothers.
They need a song.
Completely earnest. No irony.
So we were chatting during the albatross and whatever it was, and we just said about you actually built your little dock. That's very interesting to know about, because we see these as we walk around Amsterdam. Go, how wide, and is it safe?
Right. Oh, those are good questions. I mean, you do see a lot of contraptions. Sometimes you literally see a ladder. Just
yes, like a few sticks on the side of into the stonework.
Right. Yeah, you can see all kinds of ways to get on your boat. Anything goes, really. Whether or not it's safe is a question.
Yeah.
But we built a little dock that's pretty stable. It's not fancy. It's my husband built it with our kid, and it's a challenge just to even get the materials to your boat. We don't have a car. We do everything on bicycle. So it was loading up the boards and the tools and driving them to the boat, like in stages. And then unloading everything and sawing it and hammering it and getting it all together. And it's a nice little dock, and it really helps a lot because it's level with the boat. And we did move spots, by the way. So I was telling you about our original spot was up on a very high seawall. But then about a year later, a new spot opened up, and it was fabulous. It was closer to our house. It was not on a high sea level. And it was sort of buried behind really thick blackberry bushes. And so we didn't see it at first. But the one rule is you have to have a proper mooring. You can't just stick your boat anywhere. You have to have two moorings to hook your boat up on.
Oh, so those are the metal rings, basically. Yeah,
precisely. And you have to have one for the bow and the stern, the front and the back of the boat. And this had them. One was buried in in the blackberry bushes, but we found it, and we kind of like scoped it out. We were like, is this legit? Are we sure? And sure enough it was. We asked a couple people nearby, and so we were able to get that spot, and we built the dock right there. And it's kind of a little oasis. It's pretty crazy, actually. It's just free, and we can have this little waterfront property where we have a little dock, and we can go down and hang out on the shore and hang out on the dock, and it's a really easy and convenient way to get on and off the boat. Less inelegant than trying to climb the seawall. And it's great for our dog, because our dog's a senior guy. He's 13, a yellow lab, and he loves to be on the boat, but getting on and off is a challenge. But on our dock, he can just walk right flat across, and we have a little process for getting him onto the cushions, and then he walks along the rail and then sits in the stern and sits up tall, and he loves it up there. And so building the dock was great, and most people who own their boats fashion some sort of way to get on and off your boat.
Yeah, a little more elegantly than the other way. And do you recommend people, if anybody's thinking of getting a boat, that you get your boat first and then you just figure out the mooring, or the other way around?
That's what we did. That's kind of the only way to do it, really, because...
Oh, you need the boat to hold the spot.
You need the boat to hold the spot. And when we first got our boat and we were sailing off from where we got it, Martin, the guy who sold us our boat, he was like, have you ever done this before? Do you know what you're doing? And we were like, no, not really.
How difficult can it be?
Right. Then we went sailing across the Eye, which is a little bit...
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah, it was a little bit.
I didn't think you could do that in one of those little boats.
You actually can. So we went right across the Eye. The Eye River, for anybody who's listening, is a bigger body of water with proper boats.
I mean, it has like cruise ships.
It does, indeed.
That's very frightening.
Yeah.
And not to mention the ferries that just go forward and back like little shuttle buses.
They do, and you certainly don't want to get in the way of the ferries. And that's the rule of the waters. You get out of the way of the big boats. Okay. So there are rules for being on the canals. And the first one being get out of the way of the big boats. The big boats have the right of way. But driving a boat is hard. It's not like driving a car. You can't just stop,
Yeah.
So in our boat is pretty rudimentary. It's not very sophisticated boat. It just has a little outboard motor. And some of the boats, obviously, they can turn on a dime. They've got thrusters and all kinds of things. And our boat doesn't do that. So
it will drift if you stop.
Yeah, yes, yeah. And if you get like a plastic bag stuck on the motor, like, it'll stop. And if your boat stops, you have no control over your boat. So we always have to have the oars at the ready.
Oh, so you have emergency oars.
We do have emergency oars.
I like it, because you don't get those when you rent a mokum boat.
That's true.
Which is a bit of a worry.
Yes. And the boats don't go very fast, like the mokum boats and our boat. And there's a very strict speed limit on the inside of the canals.
And speed, and they're similar to those rental boats then, for anybody that's thinking of upgrading to their own personal cruise boat, whatever, leisure boat.
That's right. Yeah, anybody who's interested, I would recommend doing a mokum boat first and foremost. Just try it for yourself and get a feel of what it feels like to be on the canal and driving your own boat, and if you like it. And the nice thing about a mokum boat is that it says mokum boat on the side, and people know that you probably don't necessarily know what you're doing.
This is true.
They'll give you a wide berth and give you a little extra grace there. When you have your own boat, people more or less assume you know what you're doing. You probably need to do it right. But that said, people are really patient. The canals can get very crowded in the summer, very, very crowded. And it's not an exact science figuring out how to go through and these busy intersections. And there's a lot of just like, pointing and communication between boat people trying to indicate which way you want to go and who's going to go first and that kind of thing. Going through the very arched bridges where they're kind of blind when you go through.
Yes,
so the way we do it is like pretty much like get to the front of the boat and hang over and look both ways and then indicate to James if anybody's coming. And people bump into each other, like particularly when the canals are really busy, it can get like bumper boats out there. So you just have to put the big fenders on the side of your boats and bump around, and you push off from the walls or push off from somebody's boat if you get too close.
Yeah. So they're designed to operate that way.
They are.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people with fancy boats are probably
not so keen on that.
Not so keen. They prefer
boating by the sense of touch.
Precisely. They'd like you to be a little more precise.
We have actually been in one of those little rental boats. I don't know if it was Morecambe or Boatley or something, but and we were hit by one of those big tourist boats, the ones that are like, I don't know, they're like sharks in the canals, right? They're so low down and kind of sinister. They come out of nowhere. They cross the Amstel in like nanoseconds.
They are so fast and stealthy.
For this, like, there's silence and they're massive, right. But they're so close to the water. It's incredible.
And you really have to get out of their way.
And they are taking no prisoners.
That's right.
Like, they know that you're bottom of the food chain.
Right.
They will have you.
Yes, you have to get out of their way.
I'm sure very entertaining for the members of the public sitting on the boat. Very humiliating for the children on the boat whose dad is just allowed to stop.
Well, that is a factor. You have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get embarrassed on your boat.
Yeah.
You do silly things. We ran our motor conked out one time, plastic bag, and we couldn't get it restarted, and we were just sort of drifting, and we paddled over to somebody's houseboat deck, and we just sort of like were clinging on, and they were like, hello, what brings you here today? It was very embarrassing. But what's really nice is people will tow you. And so like it was just not very long at all until somebody came along and they were like, so you're having trouble? Can we give you a tow? And that's really nice.
That's very kind.
It is.
Yeah.
There's very much a feeling of community out on the water and people having fun and looking out for you and wanting to help if you need help.
Yeah, I think I'm sure there's a sense of adventure in it. Like you're having a go. Things go wrong. Like this, some of it's out of your control, right?
Absolutely true, and particularly because there are outright contraptions on the water. You know, not everything is a boat as you would think a boat might be. Like you've seen them. Like sometimes it's just like a floating platform with like an armchair nailed onto it.
And very importantly, a bar.
Always a bar. Yes, indeed.
All the essentials: a motor and a bar.
That's really what you need. If you're lucky, you have a bathroom on your boat, but we are not so lucky.
No, yeah. So maybe we do that after we do a trek, and then we'll maybe find out where one can stop for when nature's calling. Here's the Commodores. Hello, we're back. That was the Commodores with Sail On. Getting a nice chill vibe here from your music selection, Jennifer.
It's like the inner part of the canal where it's all chill, as opposed to the outer canals, which are less chill.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some sort of a musical hierarchy there that you've got the...
There is. Actually, there's no music allowed on the inner canals. It's quite strict. You'll get a pretty big fine if you play music on the inner canals, which is probably good. So the exception is King's Day. On King's Day, big holiday here in the Netherlands for anyone who doesn't know, the King's birthday.
Anything goes.
Anything goes, truly. And it's a huge street party, but it's also a huge water party. And you can have music and everything else on the canals on King's Day. But normally there's no music in the inner canals.
And when you say inner canals, where does that take us?
So that's the inside canal ring, the main canal ring inside of Amsterdam. But once you get out of that, like, for example, if you're going out to the Nieuwmeer River, or to the Nieuwmeer, rather, the lake, you have to go through some locks to get out there, and you're outside of the canal ring. And there are no rules about music. And in fact, it's kind of a party, just even getting through the locks. So the way it works is... the locks open up and boats start to go through, and there's like a little holding pen, and you cram as many boats in as you can, and it's everything from yachts to little tiny canal boats like ours to like the big tub boats you see in Amsterdam where there's like 40 people standing in the boat with the bar in the middle. And it's very loud because everyone has music. And in Amsterdam, that usually means boots and pants music. It's just like a giant rave or a disco on the water. And everybody has their party accoutrement.
Yeah.
Which is
in many forms.
In many forms, exactly. Trying to pass you balloons or a beer. It's like, oh, we're good, thanks.
That's cute, though. It's nice, this level of camaraderie. Like, people want to share. And
they really do.
Get everybody to the same state of euphoria.
They
whatever.
really do. They're having a good time, and they want you to have a good time,
That's
too.
nice.
Everybody wants to have a good time.
Yeah.
The sun is shining. You've got your sandwich. Everything is fabulous.
You sat there, no, it's fine. I've got my tea and I've got my whatever.
That's actually true. I usually have ginger tea on the boat, although I don't drink very much because of the bathroom situation. But we usually get into a little bit of trouble in the locks with our dog because he gets so excited and everybody loves him. And then they start talking to him and he wants to talk to them. And then this weird thing happens where they try to invite him onto their boat. And our dog is like, well, I'm clearly invited.
In a lock, that would be so scary.
It's actually ridiculous. So we're trying to like keep our dog on the boat and wrangle him down and tell people to like, yes, he's very friendly, but he's going to stay on our boat.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah. The bathrooms, there aren't any on our boat, and trying to find a bathroom is a challenge. So there are pissers all over Amsterdam for like that's what they're called, and you can, if you're a guy, I guess you can just pull over and jump out and find one of those. Otherwise, you have to find a good place to dock and go to a restaurant or a bar or something like that. Yeah, it's not easy.
No.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy, isn't it? That's just the way it is.
It is. It's a challenge, and there are signs all over Amsterdam that actually say "No wild vissen." That's like, and there's a fine attached with that, meaning like you can't just stand on the side of the boat and pee over the side, but people do, and I actually always have to be really careful when I'm taking videos and pictures because there might be.
I've never noticed anybody having a.
Oh yeah,
really?
Yeah, very much so.
Wow.
Particularly when it's like a really gorgeous sunny day or King's Day. I took so many videos on King's Day, and half of them I couldn't post on Instagram.
To pixelate
exactly.
Huge areas out.
And it's quite awkward because you're right behind that boat, and it's just like
it's pretty grim. It's not nice.
It's not the best.
It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, but then again, it just kind of seems like it's the way it is.
The way it is. And going to the what do you go to the Newmere for? What's out there that's not here?
It's really a completely different kind of boating experience in the Newmere. The canals are narrow and slow. You go at a very slow pace. You see all of Amsterdam around you. It's like a really easy way to relax and like look at the architecture and watch the people, and just kind of feel the vibe of Amsterdam. But when you get to the Newmere, it's just a giant lake, and there's water sports out there. People are water skiing and speedboats, and what a lot of people, you can swim, you can throw your anchor over and swim, and just kind of like hang out right out there and have a picnic on your boat and swim all day. And getting on and off your boat can be a challenge. You have to make sure you've got the right kind of ladder to get on and off the boat.
Do you have an anchor on your boat?
We do. We have an anchor on our boat, and you can just throw it over. It is hard to get on and off our boat, and we haven't really solved the ladder situation yet. We have a ladder, but you have to be strong enough to pull. You have to have quite a bit of upper body strength to get yourself up and over the ledge. And
I've seen some of those. They almost look like just little handles in a drawer, like they're tiny little.
That's right.
Indents to clamber up. Yeah,
and they move around, and so like you try to put your foot in it, and then it shoots off to the side. And it's actually pretty hard to get on and off of our boat. Sometimes we blow up a raft and stick it to the side, and then you get on the raft, and then from the raft climb into the boat. We're always trying to figure out the best way to get back on the boat from the Newmere. But it's just a very different boating scene out in the Newmere. It's bigger water, lakey.
So that's like going to the countryside. If you're in the car, it's like going out to a big country park or something. It's more
that's right,
leisure activities.
Yeah. And all of the canals sort of have their own personality, as does the Amstel River itself. The Amstel is part of, it's like in there with the canal ring, but it's a river. It's big, and there are big boats out there, and it's where all the sun is. So like the canals themselves inside can be pretty shady at times because the buildings block the sun. But if you're really looking for the sun in Amsterdam, you can always find it on the Amstel.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
And it's so glorious, really. Like when you sail out into the Amstel and all of a sudden the wind picks up and the sun is shining and the boats are out there and it feels like you're on the high seas.
Yeah, it's a magical energy around there, isn't it? It's
Truly,
really,
yes.
There's so much going on.
Yeah, it's really great.
What's the kind of range of the boat? Where can you get to on your little boat?
We can't go too far. We have a gas boat, and next year, I think it's next year, it might be the year after, everyone has to convert to battery motor, which is great.
Okay.
But ours came with a gas motor, and we will eventually switch it over, but that's just what we have for now. So, you know, you can always, you can get as far as your gas tank will take you, or if you can find a place to get gas, you can pull over and get more gas. We don't go too far. Boats go really slowly, so it's not like we're heading off to Leiden in our boat or to Harlem or anything like that, or even to Zanzibar. It's just too far, and it's just too slow. So we just mostly stick around the canals, and we just plan a different route depending on what we're going to do and what our mood is. You can go like past the Rijksmuseum, which is so beautiful, and do all these like tight curves to get through the bridges, which are gorgeous, and then you see the cars parked along the side with no guardrail. It's so crazy, you know, parallel park.
Hideous.
I can't imagine. Did you know that you have to have a tool in your car in Amsterdam to break a window because there's so much water? It's like you legally have to have that, which is just implications of that are scary. And then, of course, like when we want the sun, we go out to the Amstel, or if we want like a chiller, picnicking, long swimming day, we go out to the Nieuwmeer River or lake. So but some of the paths that we take along the inner canal, or if we want to go past the zoo or a windmill, if we've got somebody visiting, we're like, what do you really want to see? You want to see a wind, you know, like we've got the top three. Let's see the windmill. Let's see the giraffes.
Let's do the tourist route.
Exactly. Let's go through the red light district. The red light district is actually really lovely to go through on a boat because you're not on the street. The red light district is one of the most beautiful parts of the city. It's old and gorgeous. The architecture is incredible. And it's just so interesting because you'll have the church next to the brothel, next to the preschool, but when you're on the boat, you're out of the fray. You're not out on the street jostling with people, and you can just relax and just really see how beautiful Amsterdam is. Yes,
I can imagine that, because it is not a comfortable place to just go and try and enjoy the architecture, to appreciate it. Right, you feel that you're being watching the architecture. It doesn't,
Yes, I never feel super great just walking around on the streets there, but on the boat, it's a much different feeling, and it's just a really nice way to appreciate how beautiful it is there.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And have you noticed people, because they're not smoking up around there anymore? Have you been up there since that?
We have. I took a picture of the sign that I can't remember how you say it in Dutch. It's a blau something. No more blowing smoke. Yeah. And they've got the big signs posted that you can't smoke weed on the streets in the red light district any longer. You can still smoke it in the actual coffee shops and on the balconies and terraces, but you're not supposed to walk around. And the reason for that is Amsterdam is trying to get a handle a little bit on the type of tourism that they have. And they're hoping that putting some limits on times when bars could be open and having people not be able to smoke on the streets will just sort of like tame it a little bit, because I think it's gotten a little bit untenable. Yeah, my understanding. People come in for bachelor parties and soccer parties, football, and don't rent hotels and just stay out all night and get pretty drunk and rowdy, and sometimes maybe a little bit violent and pee everywhere, and it's not nice. Amsterdam's trying to figure that out. Of course, really wants tourism and wants people to come and enjoy the beautiful, beautiful city, but be respectful and not trash it. Yeah, and sitting in your boat, you don't need to worry about it too much from your boat. All right, let's have another track, and then we're going to find out a bit about maybe writing as well. Okay. On the boating experience, what that brings to it. That was the Beach Boys. Sloop John B. All right, so we're just talking about how chilly it can get out there on the boat, especially for the old light show, and in the shade in the late summer days. But so I guess the answer to that is listeners, to take layers for all weathers. That's right. We'll keep and a big hat for the sun when it eventually comes out. Yeah, you can get a lot of different weather happening in a short period of time. And of course, one thing about boating is you have to be very aware of the weather. You always have to check the weather and the wind to make sure it's safe. And if the wind is too high, you can't go out on your boat. It's not safe. And and if it's scheduled to rain, of course, we wouldn't go out. But sometimes it says it's not going to rain, but then one cloud will be raining on you. In Amsterdam, that happens. So we always have a lot of different layers, and we take blankets and umbrellas and things. It's hard to have an umbrella on the boat, per se.
Visibility's not great, is it, I guess?
Well, it blows away. You know, you have to figure out a way to anchor it. And so we do have multiple umbrellas for the boat. But usually we only use them when we're docked. Like if we're out on the lake or if we're on our dock, we'll get the umbrellas out. But if you're driving around the canals, it's hard to have your umbrella up.
So you also use the space on the boat at the dock?
We do. That is the best. So sometimes we won't even take the boat out. We'll just go and sit down on the grassy spot or on the dock or on the boat itself and relax. And I do a lot of writing there, which I really like. So I'll go in the middle of the day and I'll take my dog and he'll lay in the grass, and I'll go out on the boat and I'll get out there with my notebook and write. It's quite lovely.
Very nice. So it's and do you find it's, I don't know, influencing your writing?
I do. My writing has changed a lot since I moved to Amsterdam. I really started to write more here, and I write a blog, Stroopwafeld, about my life in Amsterdam and what it's like. And I get a lot of ideas when I'm out on the boat. I always have my notebook with me, and I just feel very creative. I feel relaxed, and then that's when the ideas come. And if I don't write it down immediately, it's gone forever. So even if it's just
capture those fleeting thoughts.
Precisely. Yeah. And so I usually just have to even jot down a couple of notes, and I can usually reconstruct what I was thinking. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's like, well, something about a cracker. I don't know what that was.
It seemed great at the time.
It was brilliant, but it's now gone. But yes, it's a nice way to write and read, of course. I do a lot of reading, so that's really lovely to go down and sit on the boat in the shade, and have your drink, and just read a boat.
Have you ever found anybody occupying your boat?
Yes, we have. It's actually, there's a cat who's occupying our boat right now. A really cute black cat who comes and is never very pleased to see us when we show up. But a lot of kids hang out down there. And for the most part, it's fine. We've never really had a problem. You know, sometimes they leave trash or whatever. But, you know, it's a public space. People are welcome to be there. You know, it's not our space. So people can absolutely be on the shore and sit on the dock. And if they go on the boat, that's not the best. Yeah. You don't want anybody to get hurt or anything like that. But for the most part, that doesn't happen. People sit on the dock and in the grass, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah. And we just do our best to help keep it clean. We pull bikes out of the water all the time, which is really funny. You know, bikes end up in the canal. And we've pulled multiple bikes out of the canal, like right where our boat is. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. They're usually, you see like a little handlebar or a tire or something sticking up. But we pick up a lot of trash on the canal, so we always have we have a little grabber, and we have trash bags. Do you know, that's a great idea, because I went out on my SUP for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and I saw several things. I was like, I really want to be able to just safely grab that out of the water. Yes. I don't want to end up in the soup with it, but yeah. Yeah, so the canals are pretty clean, but they do end up with bags and things like that, and so we do really try to. I mean, I guess it shows you how clear the water is. It's dark, but you can see something that's, you know, I don't know, half a foot or a foot down in the water, can't you? You can, yes, yeah, and you can check the water quality, and depending on where you are in the canals. You're allowed to swim in certain parts of the canals. You're not supposed to swim in center where the main boat traffic is, but on the Amstel you can swim. On the canal where we have our boat moored, you can swim, and the kids are, you know, jumping off the bridges and swimming, and that's super not safe. But and I always wondered, like, do they go down first and scout it out and make sure they're not jumping on it? You know? Who does it first? Yeah, like, exactly. Who's the brave stroke idiot that goes first? It always makes me nervous when I see it, but they do, and there's we swim in the canal, but we try to keep it clean, and we clean up our little space. And I'm thinking about planting some flowers down there. You know, people do. They plant. They plant flowers in their little areas and make it nice. We've got these beautiful blackberry bushes right now that kind of take over everything overnight. They're very witchy. They grow so fast. It's like these tendrils come out and they start to wrap around the boat. So we have to cut those back a little bit. But yeah.
Do you harvest from those?
It's illegal to do that. I don't.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
You're not supposed to, and we don't. But every once in a while, of course, you'll have one. But you're not actually supposed to pick them. You're supposed to leave them for the birds.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, never thought of that.
Yeah, and those berries are for the birds.
Because you don't see many as well. It's not a city of many berries, right?
I guess maybe I've never noticed before because we have like just a massive.
Yeah, sounds like a big.
We are.
Yeah,
yeah.
I have not seen any other sort of wild fruit growing.
I feel like I'll be the lookout everywhere, looking to see if.
See if there are any. Because I used to have an allotment in London, and we had them, huge amounts of raspberries and whatever. There it was like amazing, and you would always get lots of brambly sort of areas around where the allotments were, but I guess in cities you generally don't.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody planted them, some other boat owner, many moons ago.
Well, Amsterdam is really smart about how they plant things. I think that they do a really good job of knowing what's going to grow where and what's best for the environment. And there seems to be a great deal of planning and thought into just the grasses and things that you wouldn't even notice, particularly in the Vondel Park. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it is fabulous, especially this time of year where everything's had a wonderful drenching all over the spring, and now it's
true.
A bit of sun on it.
It's so green and vibrant right now in the city. Everything is growing. There was a big drought last year, and it seemed like it wasn't quite as verdant, but everything is thriving this year. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, we've got off to a flying start. So Jennifer, thank you so much for coming onto the show and giving us a great rundown of owning your own boat.
My pleasure.
It's kind of made me feel quite inspired, even though I've been here, I think, longer than you in Amsterdam, to take the, pardon the pun, plunge into boat ownership. Because it always seems like it's you can either rent one or you get one of those massive fancy ones, which are, I'm sure, a massive investment. Oh, I was going to ask you about overwintering. Do you have to move the boat at winter?
We don't, because we have a metal boat. But if you have a fiberglass boat, you have to take your boat out of the water. But because our boat is metal, it can stay. And it gets ice all around it. It's wild. And, remember, I don't know if you remember, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the canals froze.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody was ice skating on the canals, and we could go down and
you're like an icebreaker coming through.
It was, yeah. So Shrimpy was all tucked into her ice bed there.
Amazing.
Yeah, but we can leave her in the water all year.
Oh, that's handy, because must be quite a financial outlay if you've got to have your boat moved or taken dry docked or whatever over the winter.
Yeah, you'd have to pay for that.
Yeah. Okay, so metal boats are the way forward by the looks of things, because they can be very stylish as well, right?
Very stylish.
Very stylish. I've seen pictures of your boat. Looks lovely.
She's a cutie.
She's a cutie. All right, thanks very much for listening. Thank you, Jennifer, for joining us today. Let's have Styx play us out on this lovely, cool soundtrack of Sailing Away.
Podcast Amsterdam.